New York City has 5 major observation decks, and today we're going to show you which ones are best or worst depending on your preferences. Whether going out on a date, visiting with the whole family, seeking the best views of the city, or trying to keep it as cheap as possible, we'll help you decide. This is Magellan.
And this is Greyhound.
Where we make videos about epic road trips, kayaking, hiking, and other outdoor adventures. First things first. We've made videos about them all. Feel free to check them out if you want more in-depth looks of each. Otherwise, we plan on giving you a quick personal cheat sheet to help decide what's best or worst for you. Which New York City observation deck is best for convenience? The Empire State Building, Top of the Rock, and Summit One Vanderbilt are all located near many popular New York City destinations, like Times Square or Rockefeller Plaza. But only Summit One is also right across the street from Grand Central Terminal, a major transportation hub. And that's why we think it's the best. You know what's the worst? One World Observatory, located in downtown Manhattan, far away from the bustle of Midtown. By far, the best experience you'll have with crowds is Top of the Rock. It's always a chill place and never feels cramped. And plus, you don't have to wait nearly as long online as some of the other observation decks. The worst? By not even a close margin, the Empire State Building. The Empire State Building, being an iconic tourist attraction, is insanely crowded. Despite having a time ticket entry, it always feels like you're waiting and fighting for position. At the time of this video, Top of the Rock has the best entry ticket price. Every observation deck has its own unique add-ons, perks, and side attractions that you'll pay more for. But Top of the Rock is the most inexpensive across the board. As for the worst, have you ever heard the phrase, "you're paying for the name"? That's the Empire State Building, which is the most expensive of the observation decks. The ticket prices start at $44 for an adult, $38 for children, and $42 for seniors. This one is always going to be subjective and controversial, but we believe Top of the Rock has the best views of any observation deck in the city. Unobstructed 360-degree views, where you can also see the other 4 observation decks. New York Harbor, the Statue of Liberty, the MetLife and Chrysler buildings, Queens, the Hudson River, New Jersey, and by far the best view of Central Park of any of the other decks as well. The worst is One World Observatory. Because it's situated on the southern end of Manhattan, it's far away from many of the major buildings of the famous New York City skyline. It's also indoors, and doesn't take more than 2 seconds to see fingerprints, smudges, sun glare, or other people's reflections. To be fair to One World, it's the closest you'll get to see the Statue of Liberty. At the edge, you can hang off the top of the building, for a handsome price of course, called the City Climb. Or you can just slum it on the floor, where glass windows peer 1,100 feet to the New York City streets below. I didn't do either of these things, because I'm afraid of heights. The worst deck, if you're looking for thrills, is One World Observatory. It's honestly hard to get excited about an indoor deck. The best observation deck by far for a date is Summit One Vanderbilt. The largest glass exterior elevator in the world, an interactive art installation with mirrors and bubbles, a rooftop bar, and oh yeah, it's an observation deck too, with great views. Summit One Vanderbilt is a no-brainer for a fun date experience. The worst is by far the Empire State Building. We know it's iconic and has a famous scene in Sleepless in Seattle, but this attraction is the busiest and most crowded. We think Top of the Rock is the best observation deck for families. Based on the lack of crowds and the fact that there are 3 floors to explore, each with see-through glass convenient for children, we think it's the easiest with the biggest payoff. And while we don't suggest trying to come here during the holidays, Rockefeller Plaza and the giant Christmas tree below are great for children. The worst observation deck for families, again largely due to crowding, is the Empire State Building. Long wait times, cramping, and honestly, I remember being picked up as a kid and not being impressed with the iron bars. As an adult, I still don't care much for the iron bars, which brings us to our next section. Looking for some selfies to post on Instagram? While Summit 1 is filled with many worthy spots too, we've got to give the edge to the edge. Whether using this shot as a backdrop, taking a pic of the streets below, or hanging off the side of the building, it's kinda hard to beat. Remember those iron bars? Empire is iconic for sure, but no one is clamoring to give an award for the most beautiful iron bars in an observation deck category. It's hard enough to see, let alone get a good picture through them. One World Observatory is the best when there is bad weather, because it's 100% indoors. Granted, some people would argue the views aren't going to be that great either, but who are we to tell people what they have to like? The worst observation deck for bad weather has to be the Edge. All of the observation decks are open 365 days a year, 7 days a week, but the Edge is the only one that will close portions of the deck in bad weather. That alone must make it our pick for the worst. In terms of fulfilling a bucket list of iconic places around the world, if that's your jam, no trip to New York City should be complete without a trip to the Empire State Building. At one time the tallest building in the world, and the most recognizable in the city skyline. Other than not being able to see it while standing on it, this deck should be at the top of your bucket list. For our worst bucket list pick, we've got to say the Edge. Along with Summit 1, there's a certain novelty to it, but at least Summit 1 offers a wide variety of experiences that we feel you shouldn't skip. If you come to New York and you don't visit the Edge, it's not a big deal, even if it is a very cool observation deck. Some people like to go up the tallest buildings, and for that, you need to go to One World Observatory. The highest observation deck in New York City and one of the tallest buildings in the world at 1,268 feet. Top of the Rock, on the other hand, is only 850 feet and the shortest of the observation decks in the city. Whether height diminishes your experience is entirely up to you. The best elevator ride up to any of the observation decks is One World Observatory. While the other decks also have videos showing you New York City being built, One World does it best. Upon reaching the 100th floor, you will get a very cool reveal. Just a quick note that Summit 1's outdoor glass elevator, which is an extra cost, is also pretty sweet. Top of the Rock, on the other hand, is basically just a really fast elevator. There's nothing really to see other than arriving in 42 seconds. Overall, we have to give the award to Summit 1 Vanderbilt, the newest observation deck in the city. In addition to having great views, we feel that the trippy mirrored floors, the outdoor elevator and bar, and the interactive art exhibits make it not only the best observation deck, but the best experience. For our worst deck, and we'd like to stress that all of these decks are fun and worth visiting, One World Observatory has to take the unfortunate prize. It's all indoors, has limited, although unique views given its location, is kind of a pain to get to, and is very busy. That being said, all of these decks are great to visit for different reasons. Do we feel that you should go to more than one? Yeah. All in one day? Definitely not. Otherwise, we'd like to add that all of these decks are very accessible and have information on their websites explaining wheelchairs, strollers, service animals, and the like. Do us a solid and let us know what's most important to you and which observation deck you would choose based on our recommendations. We'll see you on the trails or in the water.